Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today's video is the start of our Deuteronomy 28 punishment series. No, this series isn't about dogging Mr. Charlie out, as much as trying to get some of the so-called African Americans' minds right about our current state of affairs. Miss Reader, when these cats read Deuteronomy 28 punishments in the Septuagint, what do you think they perceive? I perceive punishments that has never been lifted and are ongoing to this very day for the elect. Let's check it out, shall we? Quote, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe all his commandments, as many as I charge thee this day, then all these curses shall come on thee, and overtake thee. Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field." Stop. This is all encompassing. Whether you are a city slicker or a country boy, you will not escape. We have seen enough documentaries and movies depicting life for the slave working at the mill store or the cotton fields, so I don't think there is a need to harp on that now. But I charge thee, nothing has changed for his elect. It makes no difference what occupation you have gotten yourselves into. You, elect, are still a freaking target. You are on your job for 3 reasons, and 3 reasons alone. First and foremost, the law said you must be there. Second, he is getting more bang for his buck out of you, lower pay for same job, than he is getting from another cracker. And third, is literal bondage and the most effective controlling mechanism to an overlord you affectionately call boss. What? I know you gotta work, but why don't you do what your ancestors did? Each family had a skill, and dad taught the sons the business. This way, you can build off of proven history and establish customer base. They got all black people building separate houses, which can only mean your manpower, think power, and finances are instantly diminished to mere fractions of what each and every other nation upon the earth start with. Please remember, family inheritance is the #1 form of wealth in America. The reason it is so difficult for families to try and do it now is because all of you have been able to build your own little outhouses, and now you are trying to put them together to make a mansion. That's not how it works, people. Striking out on your own and make something of yourselves is a trick of the evildoers, plain and simple. Classic divide and conquer. What evil form of foulness will allow a parent to throw their children to the wolves? Maybe this is the real reason your soul cries out when you send your child off into the world on their own. Just thinking how they have tricked us. Colored people, whites have free reign and freedom to do whatever they want without restrictions. Just thinking how they have tricked us to become little separatists, I guess, so no one will hear you scream. Subjected to physical and psychological mind fuck daily, eating the other dog before they can eat you, layoffs, allowing the capitalist boss to eat the poor, and let's not even talk about how many moral and social ills it all spawns. Well, it's savage in nature and evil genius. I can go on and on about how uncaring our parents were for their children and the ramifications of their illogical solution. I said illogical because, first, you can't change a person's heart, especially when the preferred fail-proof device is a strategy called, get this now, the Southern strategy. You know, where the evildoers pit the common cracker against his Yah-given enemy. Works every time. But wait! They have stripped your soul so bare, you actually think of our genocide as an accomplishment. Wow. What? What can you do now? cry out to Yah. But in the meantime, if you have a skill, teach your child from his youth your skill and the reason why you want him to follow and build what you have started. Give him wisdom while in bondage, not bondage packaged as their dream and wisdom. Oh yeah, Mr. Charlie, this is the real reason your middle class is being destroyed. How? Well, you once became the foreman and hired your son and brother-in-law. Now, you have started to allow your son to waste your money and get an arts degree and follow his dream. Saying that, black people, I can't be mad at the cracker for Kenyanism. We are the ignorant ones. But let's continue. Quote, "Cursed shall be thy barns and thy stores." Stop. Same context as the first. Whether you are a city slicker or country boy, you will not escape. As far as the store part is concerned, everybody has heard of Black Wall Street, Auburn Avenue, etc. And likewise, as soon as our parents gave their power unto the beast, the civil rights movement, every major city black district became unrecognizable in just 10 years. It's been 60 years and it still hasn't recovered from its pre-civil rights days. Question: how many black family-owned businesses do you know that has been around for over 20 years? Hell, 10 years. As far as being cursed in the barn, the very first evil device the cracker devised against us, when he could no longer own us, is sharecropping. According to the History Channel under sharecropping, quote, "With the Southern economy in disarray after slavery and the devastation of the Civil War, conflict arose between many white landowners attempting to reestablish a labor force and freed blacks seeking economic independence and autonomy. Many former slaves expected the federal government to give them a certain amount of land as compensation for all the work they had done during the slavery era." Stop! This is what I was talking about in an earlier video, Mr. Charlie. Not only does your word mean nothing, you know from the onset your word means nothing. As you can plainly see, brothers and sisters, the cracker lied yet again and told us they were going to give us 40 acres and a mule. This is yet another arrow in our quiver for the world court. Why? Because this was the beginning of genocide. In that, this one action, non-action, did the exact same thing to our economic emancipation as you are doing to your children by giving the poor, defenseless, and inexperienced back to the established ravishing wolves. This one action thwarted our economic emancipation for an entire people. And as far as the guidelines for genocide, X marks the spot. What? I can't link the government to this, you say? Let's continue. Quote, "Union General William T. Sherman had encouraged this expectation in early 1865 by granting a number of freed men 40 acres each of the abandoned land left in the wake of his army. During Reconstruction, however, where the government's palm prints and true crime lies, the conflict over labor resulted in the sharecropping system, in which black families would rent small plots of land in return for a portion of their crop to be given to the landowner at the end of each year." Example. It don't sound that bad, huh? Well, here's the problem. Being newly freed slaves could only mean they had absolutely nothing of their own other than the Negro know-how. This could only mean they had to rent the utensils to farm also, including the seed, mind you, rent a way to get their product to the market to sell it, rent food and supplies to last them throughout the harvest, especially the first few generations, etc. But wait! All of this while the poor white trash, hired by the landowners, mind you, would come, slash, burn, and destroy their crops. Why would they do this, you ask? To establish the system that you and I are subjected to today. Debt. As you can probably guess, by the end of the year, when it was time to divvy up, the Cullets never had enough money from their crops to repay the renting they had to do all year, thus putting them right back where they came from, bondage to the cracker and the carpetbaggers. Evil freaking genius. And if you are still not convinced we are still under Yah's punishment, and I know that you're not, check this out. According to the LA Times, under Fast Losing Lands, blacks hit hardest by farm crises. I'm going to cut to the chase. Quote, but black farmers, already hard-pressed social and economic conditions that whites seldom face, are losing their lands at a rate 2.5 times faster than their white neighbors. Statistics tell the story. In 1920, 1 of every 7 farmers were black. Today, that ratio is 1 in 67. Nearly 1 million black farmers once owned lands totaling 15 million acres. Census figures now show there are 33,000 blacks left farming. 3.1 acres, 3.1 million acres, mostly in the deep south, with only 388 of Californians' 81,700 farmers being black. All right, under decline cited in report. Quote, until 1982, when the U.S. Civil Rights Commission released its benchmark report, The Decline of Black Farming in America, blacks' loss of land had gone virtually unnoticed. Example. So as you can see, nothing has changed, people. They got us so spread out and our minds diverted on trinkets guised as success, we just don't notice anymore. But let's continue with the next punishment, shall we? Quote, cursed shall be the offspring of thy body, and the fruits of thy land, and the herds of thine ox, and the flock of thy sheep. Stop. We already went over the farming, but did you notice the real goat in the room? Surely everyone can perceive how the child of the colored slave was born a slave. This is not true of the other races that have been partially colonized or were in servitude. Please understand something, people. When our ancestors were hearing the words coming out of Uncle Moses' mouth, it was designed to shock and awe them. Something that was so out of touch with sanity and humanity, it would keep their minds right. We today do not look at what was written with the same heartbreak of understanding. Yah never took these curses off of us, people. Through your conditioning, you guys just don't get it. If you did, you wouldn't have children that you don't want. 80% of you probably cried when you found out you was pregnant. If you understood we were still under our punishments, you wouldn't have children for the sake of, I have no idea why. But knowing full well, though, they come into the world with 2 strikes against them. Then you got the nerve and the gall. Just when they are at their most suggestive, vulnerable state, you pack them up and release them to the wolves. On another note, if you understood we are still under the curses, you wouldn't wonder why each generation has become wilder and wilder. Why? Because now cursed children are having cursed children. That can't be good. I know you don't like what I'm saying, but take that up with my daddy. Thank you for looking at this video, and look for part 2. It's going to be huge.